Welcome to the Is A Mirage podcast. On this episode, I'm going to talk about the program that I've just developed because I've just released it today and I'm very excited about what cross-community mushrooms actually is all about, probably getting Sean in trouble, and just a few other things that I think that are important for people to know and to remember about their life so that they can strive and grow and be the best that they can be. So tune in, I hope you enjoy. Hello ladies and gentlemen, this is Liam the Prove It Guy, author of Limitation is a Mirage. In this podcast, I will be sharing with you actionable tips, routines, and insights that I have gathered over 20 years of extensive study with masters, experts, and world-class performers. My hope with this podcast is to save you time, money, and frustration, helping you fast-track your way to mastery. This episode, my brother wanted me to call it Cross-Community Mushroom Throwing, because he remembered that yesterday he was sitting in his kitchen and he ended up laughing because he remembered that back many moons ago when we lived over in Stroud Park, I'm pointing at it because it's just over there, they got like a new banking put in and a wee walkway and all. It was all fancy, and some guy had sold them like really shit manure is shit, really bad quality manure, if that's a thing. So whenever they planted it, it ended up growing loads of big, massive mushrooms. But they had planted like loads of wee bushes and trees to fill the gap. And they were using bamboo sticks as a way of the trees to grow, like I suppose like any gardener would. And then, this is terrible, but whenever the 12th came around, the big main road, all the buses for the 12th would drive past. So we would all meet up and we would take, I don't even know how we learned to do this or if we just came up with it on the fly, but we took the bamboo sticks and stuck them in we stuck them into the big massive mushrooms and then threw them over our shoulder like a wee rucksack and then flinged them at buses. So we spent like the whole 12th weekend doing that. For anyone that doesn't know, the 12th is like a Protestant celebration where they march and they pick a town and then they march in it, and it's to celebrate their culture. I was from a Catholic area, so we didn't celebrate that. In fact, we, as much as we could, because bigger boys told us to do it, really, we didn't know what we were doing, like we hadn't a clue. One of the guys gave off to the British Army people one time and called one of them a Fenian because they were dressed green. And that was their logic. So we didn't know what we were talking about at all. The paratrooper didn't have a clue either because he was English. He didn't know what a Fenian was, what we were, why we were doing this. But we used to, throw mushrooms at all the buses going past, and probably random cars as well, and anything else that was in our path. So I don't know if I'm going to call this episode cross-community mushroom throwing, but I try to give people an insight into my life and what goes on in my day-to-day, and that's something that came up today, so I thought I would bring it up. I don't know what sort of backlash I will get from it, but as long as no one throws mushrooms at me, I'm all good. So this week I finally finished the project. The Rapid Body Recovery is done, and it's out there now for the world to see. It's been like my baby for 9 months. I've been working towards getting it off the ground, incorporating everything that I teach holistically into one program. So I found out over the years, I realized over the years that I taught people how to improve their body or their mind. And the people who worked on their mind, I would give them ideas about food and exercise a wee bit. And the people that worked about their body, I would give them wee ideas about how to improve their mind. But I never really focused in on the both at once. And yet I spent my whole life improving both aspects for myself. So I thought it was about time. That's about whenever I went off social media about a year ago now, actually, it would be. Or in a month, it'll be a year. Whenever I went off social media, it was because I was trying to work out how to incorporate this. And then I spent the last 9 months working on it. So a big shout out to Neill who's like been, without him, it just wouldn't have happened. So I'm just really appreciative of that. And that's basically how this week has went for me. I started a new training program. I took a week off, took 2 training sessions off. I do 3 a week, and I took 2 off because I pulled my neck, and I just thought, well, if my neck's pulling, then my body must be tired. So I just decided to take a couple of days off. Always listen to your body, but don't be lazy and don't just make up stupid excuses. So I started a new one about breathing and posture and I'm really excited for that. It's going to be really interesting because you feel like you're going to pass out a lot in it, which is fun, I suppose. I'm not advising anyone to train that way, just it's how I happen to be training at the moment. So I spent all day getting all that ready, and then I went and walked around the forest, just around the forest, around, it is a forest, Glens, Scorching Glens, couldn't remember where it was, and I go there quite often, just to chill out. So I like to just chill out before I come on and do the podcast. Normally I have some sort of plan where I think about what I would like to get across, but I don't really today. I just wanted to talk about, I'm just probably because I'm super excited about finishing the course, and I was interviewed in another podcast that's not going to be out for a while, so no one got into it too much yet. And just the type of life that I live compared to where I thought I was going in my life, just it always just crops up like that whole throwing the mushroom thing. Like growing up in Stroud Park, you just had to find ways of doing stuff. Like we used to do, probably everyone did it when they were younger. You'd find like wee plastic pipes and stick them in the mud, and then have like pipe mud fights at each other. And then when the 5-a-day club, if anybody remembers the 5-a-day club, 4 and 3, 2 and 1, the countdown's getting lower every day. The 5-a-day club, they used to come around and teach us about Jesus, and they really didn't teach us anything. We just waited to the end of the week till we got free sweets and pencils. Like imagine someone coming around now trying to give kids free sweets and pencils, they'd be locked up. But back then, your parents shoved you out of the house and made you go and sit on the carpet and sing Jesus songs with these people. And we used to muck bomb them all the time. And people talk about how terrible that was when we were younger. Like, you shouldn't be doing that. But what I always found was even funnier is me and my brother were part of the group doing it. And my sisters would be in the actual 5-a-day club getting muck pelted. So there was no prisoners. We just muck pelted away. So we just like I grew up, and my teachers told me and everyone told me that I wasn't going to amount to anything or do anything or go anywhere. And now, like, my podcast reaches all around the world, like 11 different countries. The last time I looked, there's over 10,000 downloads. My courses are practiced, and I've got clients from all over the world as well. It's just amazing that, again, I try to tell people you can do whatever you want in life. You can create an amazing life for yourself, and that's what I'm doing. It's why the Prove It Guy exists. And like when I tell these stories, like these are probably the worst stories I've ever told on, and I've brought Sean into every one of them, which is his own fault because he brought them up initially. Mum listens to these podcasts as well, so this might be the first time she's heard of it. If it is the first time you've heard of it, Mum, it's because Sean made me. He was a bigger boy. Bigger boys made me do a lot of stuff when I was younger, and also when I was older. Whenever I first learned to drive, like I didn't learn to drive till I was 27 because I lived in Oma, and then I lived in London, and there was no point. I didn't go anywhere or do anything. I could get buses to Belfast if I needed to. The girls that I was seeing at the times of seeing them, they all could drive, so they would drive me places if I needed to. So I never really felt the need to drive. And then when I learned to drive, I realized that driving's awesome. You can actually go anywhere and do, like, just drive places. It's brilliant. But I was about 27, and I remember one day landing into the house. When I first started driving, I just drove my mum's car. It was a wee Corsa. My experiences of driving were crazy. The first time I learned to drive, and then about 2 weeks later, I drove all the breakdancers up to Belfast. We ended up they were entering a competition. Then we went to a party in a club, and I nearly got bothered at the party in the club because they told me to go into the circle. There was like a dance-off type thing going, like a breaking circle, and everybody was going in and doing all this hectic breakdance and stuff. And I was told to go in, and I didn't know how serious everybody took it. I should have known, but I didn't. And I went in and did the margarita, hey, and they got disgustipated. And like, Doke came over to me and was like, "You're going to get killed here if you don't do something of use." So I went in and did a kung fu form, and then everyone thought it was great and enjoyed it. But when I was driving home by myself about 3 o'clock in the morning, as fast as a wee Corsa could take me legally. And a deer walked out in front of me, and like I had to swerve and avoid the deer and freak out a wee bit. It just came out of nowhere. And then about 2 months later, we went to Red Hot Chili Peppers. So I'd been driving for about 2 months at this stage. Go to the Red Hot Chili Peppers, pull in to park the car, and it makes a weird noise, just like a popping sound. I know nothing about cars. I still don't know a lot about cars. I just don't care enough. They're not in my radar. I don't care. But the guys that were with me, I was like, that doesn't sound right. And one of them could drive, and he was like, ah, be grand. And they didn't really care because they were drinking and we were going to see the Chili Peppers, so nobody cared. So I just parked up anyway and went to the concert and forgot about it. And then walked back after the concert to the car. And when I put the car in gear, I went to put it in reverse to reverse out of where I'd parked, and it just made a loud bang. And it wouldn't go anywhere. And I was like, right, that's not good. And I asked the guy that could drive, I was like, what's going on here? Why is this normal? And he was drunk at this stage, so he started to teach me how to put it into gear, and I put it into first gear because that's what he was talking about. It took me a while to notice that he didn't know what he was talking about because I didn't have a clue. But I realized that I could get in first gear. It went in, so I just drove out and around and got out onto the main road that way. And in the middle of the main road, because it was a concert just over, there's traffic everywhere, the gear stick just dropped into like a hole. So something terrible it was obviously happening, but it was like the car was trapped in third gear, but the gear stick had fallen down a hole. So I ended up having to drive home from Dublin with two months experience of driving. And my lessons, obviously. 2 months experience driving on my own with 3 drunk guys in the car without being able to slow down or speed up. I was hitting about 25 to 30 mile an hour the whole way home. Bit of smoke, and I remember finally getting home. I made the guys jump out at the corner because I didn't want to stop at any of their houses because I didn't know I'd get started again. And I drove to the bottom of my hill and then tried to get up the hill, and obviously the car was completely banjaxed, so it didn't make it up the hill. Smoke came in the vent, and I ended up just rolling back down the hill and parking the car. So I got home, it was ridiculously late. I was still Mum's car. So I wrote Mum a wee note and just went to bed. And the note said, you should have got up earlier because your car is broke. And that was the first my mum found out about her damaged car. But the bigger boys is how I got onto this conversation. The bigger boys, I landed into my house carrying the wing mirror and said, Mum was like, why are you carrying it? What is going on here? And I told a whole elaborate story about how the bigger boys came over and asked. I was at least 27 at this stage. Bigger boys had come over and they wanted to go in the car, and I wouldn't let them because it was my mum's car, and they just weren't getting in it. And they ended up kicking off the wing mirror. And I think she believed it for a good solid, I don't know, about 2.5, 3 minutes before she realized it was, what had actually happened was I tried to reverse in my driveway and I was looking at one wing mirror and forgot about the other one and just ripped it off. So I don't know how I got into that. Driving experiences. So like I said, I had no plan with the podcast, but normally I try to get a message within it. So I suppose the message there was the Dublin driving. When I used to tell that story to clients, whenever they were talking about being afraid of different things and challenges in their life, they used to always say to me, that would have just put me off driving for life. I would never have got in the car again. And I often think how it just didn't faze me at all. It was just something that happened. I didn't know how to drive properly. The car broke, and in my head I was like, I did really well to get from Dublin to Oma without dying, without the car dying, and without having to ring anyone to come and get me. In hindsight, the car was completely wrecked after that, so I probably shouldn't have drove it for 111 miles, but I really like going home after things and staying in my own house, so I was like, I'm getting home. So when I told the story to clients, they used to always say that would put me off driving. And I used to always try to explain to them, just because you have an adversity or you have a challenge, you shouldn't let that dictate the rest of your life. Maybe driving becomes a wee bit scarier because that sort of thing can happen. But why did they look at the problem and not look at the fact that I succeeded in my goal, which was to get home? Nobody got injured. Nothing really bad happened. So when you think about it, the worst case scenario would have been I had to get out of the car. It would have went in fire or something, and I would have had to phone fire brigade and a tow truck and somebody to come lift me. That would have been it, really. So, my dad's car went in fire when he was driving. He just drove faster to turn the flames off. So, could have been worse. So whenever I try to teach people that, anything can happen. That we went to a concert. It was supposed to be a lovely, fun time, and turned out to be a nightmare getting home, but we got home and it worked. And I think that's what I try to get across to my clients and the people that listen to everything is, like, I come from such a strange background, and I was designed, according to everybody, I was designed and like, I was just going nowhere, really. Couldn't even think of the word there, but there's a fancier word that was in my head, but I lost it. Destined. Not even that fancy. I was destined to just be useless, to be a nobody. And I've achieved some incredible things in my life by just not believing what other people put upon me. So just because people think that I should be a certain way, if that's not what I believe, then I'm not going to live that life that they think I should live. And it's stood the test of time for the last 20 years. I've just created and created myself, improved upon myself, and just become better. Like that course that I finished today, or if you're listening to this on Wednesday or in the future, it was yesterday. Whatever date we're on now, the 8th. So the 8th of the 9th, 2020, I got the Rapid Body Recovery course done. It's just out for the world there. So my beta clients have been testing it for a few months. Everything's in place. It's all going the way I want it to. If I had looked at the amount of work that it was going to be to do that, and I thought about the person that I was back in the olden days and what people said I was going to be, I would never have got there. The course wouldn't exist. I wouldn't have done anything useful towards it. But because I don't let people dictate who I am and who I'm going to be, it's why I've achieved what I've achieved. It's why I get the results with my clients that I get, because I teach them that, or I prove to them, I suppose, as the prove it guy, I prove to them that they are worth more, that they can be better. But you don't have to be better as in earning thousands of pounds and having a fancy house and a big family. You can be better by just avoiding that piece of cake that you would have had, by eating a healthier meal, by having some fruit, by going outside and not being afraid, by going in nature, by being comfortable on your own. Just basically doing things that you normally wouldn't do because a little voice in your head would tell you not to, or somebody else will have put these parameters on you that's not for you and it's not who you should be. So I guess that's what today's about. Today, like I'm a lot calmer now. I was very excited when I got on. I'm starting to relax a bit more now. I fully believe, like, you can be and do whatever you want. Sometimes you're going to need to reach out to people like me for help. Sometimes you'll be able to do it on your own. If you just follow the advice, like this podcast has a full year of advice, 3 to 5 minutes audios, one a day to keep you motivated, to keep you engaged with yourself, and to keep you moving forward. So there's so much out there, like not just me, but other people that you can learn from, you can study, and you can grow. The first thing you have to do is believe in yourself to do that. And as cheesy as that is, it's important. You have to know that if you want to become better, it's you that gets you there. You're not doing this for anyone else. Everything I do is for my family as a whole. I want to be able to support my family. I want to be strong for them. I want to be someone that they can come to and feel comfortable talking to. But at the end of the day, if they all told me that they hate me and they don't want me to do any of this stuff and they hate seeing me online and whatever, I would still do it because I do it for me. I want to be a stronger, healthier version of myself every time. So if I'm here and I become stronger, I want that just to become my norm. So I have to keep getting higher and higher. So even if they told me they didn't want anything to do me or do with me or anything to do with this, that's not going to stop me doing it because it's what I love doing. It's who I want to be. So look at who you are, what you want to be, and forget all the shit that people told you in the past, your teachers, your old employees, everything. Like, I've quit jobs where they said to me, do you think you'll get a better job than this anywhere in the world? And I'm like, well, this is a bar in the middle of Oma, so probably if I really tried, I could improve slightly. So that's just what I wanted. Well, I didn't have a plan to rant about today. I just wanted to let it flow and see where it went. I was going to make a poem, let it flow and see where it would go, but I didn't, and then I did. So thanks again for tuning in. I hope you have an amazing day, whatever you get up to. If you have any questions, please reach out to me, and please share this, like it, hit the notification bell so that you don't miss them. And I look forward to speaking to you soon.